Frequency. The meter can read both AC and DC frequencies, from 4 Hz to 10 MHz, 10 million Hz. Move the function selector to the Hertz position, as indicated by the HZ.
Frequency. Frequency is measured in cycles per second. That's how many times something happens in 1 second. And it's named after a guy named Heinrich Hertz. In RPM is revolutions per minute. So if you were comparing revolutions and cycles per second, there'd be 60 times as many cycles as there are RPM. So that's the difference. The key thing to remember here is that anything that has a frequency can be measured. You simply use the 2 leads, stick the 2 leads into the attachment points. Be very careful if we're dealing with high voltages. If you're dealing with high voltages, you probably want to make sure that you have all of your safety, all the safety procedures followed, as well as knowing how to read the meter. So that's obviously very important. That if you're dealing with higher voltages, which is usually where frequency is, AC, for you, those of you guys who work on APUs, gensets, generators, boats, things like that, this is going to be something you need to be concerned about. But at the same time, it's simply a matter of reading the meter and measuring frequency. The wall, the voltage coming out of the wall is at 60 cycles per second, and it can read anywhere from there up to millions of hertz, so you're in pretty good shape. The one thing that's important here is that the range feature works as well on the hertz setting, HZ, so make sure that you're on auto range for everything that you can be. You don't want to go to manual range unless there's some specific reason for it, and right now I can't really think of any. So the range button can be used if you need it, but for the most part you won't need it. Frequency is part of a lot of different things, pulse width modulation, AC obviously, and fuel injectors and other types of FM frequency modulation systems. So you need to be aware of what your frequencies are and what they should be, and this meter will allow you to read them if you use it properly. Again, just remember the load pro leads stay in, flip the meter to hertz, and you're on your way. This is a pulse width modulated throttle position sensor off of a CAT engine, and it uses digital electronics to create a time pulse that it sends to the signal wire that the ECM registers as a throttle position. This is not a potentiometer, this is different. There's electronics in here. This is actually a positive wire, negative wire, and a signal wire, and this is what's referred to as an active sensor, obviously. So in order to use the frequency, you simply move the meter selector to hertz and leave it on auto range, and then simply read. In this case, you notice it reads 5.10 K, or 5,100, in this case 5,100. So this sensor operates at a frequency of 5,100 or 5.1 K, 5.1 kilohertz. You read it directly off of the meter. Use the auto range feature whenever you can. There really isn't much need to go to manual range for this, because the meter will go exactly where it needs to go. If you do happen to have it on manual, you simply hold the button for 2 seconds. Once it says manual, hold the button, range button for 2 seconds, and it goes back to auto range just like the ohm meter. For those of you who work on generators or APUs on large trucks, or if you work on any type of generator for RVs or in any application, the meter will read 60 hertz, and it reads it as 0.060 K, and that's 60 hertz. So when you're looking for frequency on the meter reads in kilohertz, and this is 1K, 1,000 hertz, and it's reading as 0.060 hertz. You can range and it shows up as 0.060 kilohertz. auto range, best option, and you simply read what's there. This is very useful, again, if you're working on any type of AC systems, on any type of vehicle, boats, trains, cranes, trucks, APUs, power generation, RVs, things like that. It's very useful, and it works really well.